So when we look at our restaurant equipment, we divide them out by the flow of food. So the very first stop in the flow of food is receiving. So that's where we're going to start. And then we're going to move it into storage. This video is going to include both receiving and storage. And I'll do preparing, holding, and serving food in another video. So it's really important to make sure when you first get your food that it is checked. That's part of your HACCP plan. You don't accept food that is supposed to be frozen and it's 40, 41 degrees. That's not frozen. Even though it's still not in the danger zone, it was supposed to be frozen, and that's how it must be. You don't get a whole box of lemons and half of them are rotten and molded. So you can accept maybe one or two things that you could throw out as far as vegetables go. Sometimes that's the way it is, but you always inspect. A purchase order is a request for a certain amount of items. This is how I do a lot of our shopping. I look in our lab, I do an inventory of what I have on hand. I make a list for our labs. This is what we need. And then I create a purchase order that I take to our accountant that she sends to um, downtown, who handles our accounts, and I get a purchase order back. So a purchase order is, hey, I would like to spend this amount of money. Then I get it. Here's a purchase order for $1,000. It's a piece of paper. It's an agreement between a business and another business that we're going to get these items and pay for it. Then I go to Costco. I get my food items. I submit my purchase order. They let me take my food items, and then I turn my receipt into downtown and let them know it's okay to pay for these food items. So an invoice is essentially what I am collecting from Costco that I submit downtown so they know, yes, it's okay to pay. So you also want to compare that to a receiving record and make sure that what you are receiving, what you ordered, you're signing off. Once they've signed off, everything's good, then you owe that. You can't go back to the company once you've signed off. You're going to get a lot of a lot of food items that are going to be big and bulky and heavy, and you don't want to put your workers at risk. The first thing you're going to have in your receiving area is a dolly, and that is a small wheeled cart. So the dolly essentially just moves big, heavy items from one place to another. You're also going to have some maybe receiving tables. You're going to be able to weigh and inspect and check these items. Good thermometers are definitely going to be necessary for this. Scales, you don't really weigh everything, but you want to make sure that some things are in good shape. And utility carts. You see us use a lot of utility carts in our classroom. These are usually really strong and durable plastic or even metal or steel, and they need to be sanitized often, particularly depending on what type of food item that you have. A chute, a conveyor, a dolly, or a dumbwaiter or an elevator could also be in a restaurant, but not as common as these other ones I've covered. Once we move into dry stock is storage for not as perishable items. Very perishable items need to go in refrigerators and freezers. These are things that are going to go bad really fast. Dry stock is for canned or dry items like pastas or rice. It may be even for some things that don't get stored in the refrigerator, like potatoes. You must have 6 inches off the floor on steel shelving. It's just really important too for your HACCP, make sure that items go in as soon as possible. So as a review, 6 items off the floor, stainless steel shelving, strong, easy to clean. Wood is unacceptable per health departments. Refrigerators and freezers. We have walk-ins or reach-ins. We have reach-ins in our classroom. We do not have the space for a walk-in. They are self-explanatory. A walk-in, you open a door and you go inside and you're in a big giant room that is refrigerated or frozen. You can have full size or half doors. You can also have windows or not windows. A window would be something you would see in like the gas station or grocery store for display. You can also have wheels. Here's a photo here. So a walk-in, big door, big giant room. It's real cold. Reach in, you open a door and you reach in and get food items. A low boy is something that you'll see in food service a lot, and that is essentially a countertop height. It can kind of slide under a countertop or it can be the countertop. A lot of times you'll see a little door and you'll see items that are prepared. So Subway, Mod Pizza, they're standing in front of a low boy. There are doors under the countertop that you can open. That whole thing is a refrigerator, and there is backup or more items that are stored in that cold storage. For fridge and freezer safety, refrigerators 32 to 41 degrees Fahrenheit, freezers around 0 or below. It's really important to FIFO, label, and date all food products. A freezer is not end all be all for storage. There is a limited amount of time before food can also go bad in a refrigerator. So, for safety in your refrigerator, it's really important to make sure you follow the storage chart, which means that your ready to eat food items should be on top, followed by items that may not even be cooked, like your salad products or fresh vegetables, followed by eggs. And then maybe some beef or seafood, then maybe beef or seafood below that, and then the chicken would always be at the bottom. You never want to take a risk that your chicken juice is going to cross contaminate and drip down onto other food items, particularly if they're not going to be cooked, if they're ready to eat foods. Even at home in my refrigerator, I have a drawer or a pan, something that protects my meat so that I'm not even touching my shelving with raw meat packages. I thaw everything in like a little roasting dish or just an old pan that I have. If you look under your, um, if you look in Canvas, you can find this presentation, and the next slides are going to have all of your vocabulary in both English and Spanish for you so that you